I certainly wasn't in favor of raising my taxes 30% because
This was a statement made that says, all of us are concerned about the B&O tax and the fact that it taxes unprofitable businesses. Think about that. Businesses not making any profit are getting taxed on this thing. There are thousands of small businesses, sole proprietors, who are high volume, low profit business. The B&O tax is killing them. These statements were made by some of our legislators in the legislature at the time.
Who was your governor?
Excuse me?
Who was your governor during that time?
That was Arch Moore was governor at the time.
Where did this money go to? What was this money used for, these tax money? Who was the sponsor of these bills?
I'm sorry?
Who was the sponsor of this bill?
I don't know. It came out as a conference sub, Lou. That was Bill 1693. I don't know who sponsored it, but I talked to the governor about that.
I know who wanted the bill.
I'm sorry?
The governor pushed the bill through.
No, Lou, you got that wrong.
Wrong.
He was very concerned. It was not his bill. And I talked to him just 2 weeks ago about this, when all this, your campaign started.
Well,
and they were concerned about it. He said, because I was very concerned.
Who was your minority leader at that time?
I think it was your brother, wasn't it?
You got that right.
Yeah.
I only had about 6 different.
And that's why I just read some of the quotes, Lou, were your brother. Your brother was saying, we got to do away with the B&O tax, Lou. So I hope we get some other questions, but this is a bad tax. It was a bad tax. We got rid of it and we replaced it. Did I vote for tax? Yes, I did. But we replaced it to revenue neutral, folks. And I'm pleased because I think our state is better off for having done that. Yes, sir.
I think we got to go to another question.
Greg, could I say something now? I'm tired of politicians.
Thank you.
Going back 20 or 30 years. I'm 74 years old now, and I'm a hell of a lot smarter than I was 30 years ago. So what does it have to do if they go back and say, so-and-so had a girlfriend back here 30 years ago? Now, we gonna elect him for office because he had a girlfriend 30 years ago, or he did something 30 or 40 years ago? We should be worried about the future now.
That's why we have elections every 2 years. Right. Okay? If they don't, throw them out. That's the people supported me, and they liked what we were doing back then. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Well,
that.
I'd like to
yes.
something.
Well, this gentleman here,
Yeah,
then we'll come back to you.
We'll come back to your next one. Yes, sir.
For some West Virginians, taxes aren't the main problem. If you have a job, we live in one of the worst of the 5 states that have police forfeiture, where they can seize your property without even charging you with a crime. That's a bad record for one of the top 5. And that certainly is, you work your life away, and here comes the man with the badge and seizes your property. What do you think we need to do about that?
I've not experienced that, so you'd have to teach me a little bit. And as Donna knows, I can be educated. She's educated me on more than one bill on it. So show me, I'd like to know what it is, what that situation is. But if that's something like they did up in New England when they seized that property so that a developer could develop it, that was wrong. And that kind of, you should not be able to seize. Now, if you want to seize it, and not that I'm crazy about it, if you're seizing it to build another road or interchange or something to help out in commerce, but to seize another man's property so that you can transfer it to a developer to put up a mall, no.
I don't think.
And there's no way that you could ever reimburse a person
That's
for
not
property.
only what they do, they seize the property in a lot of cases and fund their own budget. It goes right into the police coffers. And we're one of the worst 5 states. And that problem, I don't think has been addressed very solidly. I don't think it could be worse than the old Soviet Union.
You want to get with him a little bit, Ed?
Yeah, I thought you were going for tort reform because, boy, if there's nothing else, this whole health care bill just screamed out why we need to have tort reform. Talk about the manufacturers in West Virginia, what they've endured, why they want to have tort reform. I thought that's where you're going because in West Virginia, go back to 1985. I'm sorry to go back now. I'm going to go back to the point. 1985, we had 150,000 manufacturing jobs in West Virginia. 150,000. Today, because the EPA, the regulations, and the pressure that the government has brought on, we're down to 50,000, 52,000 manufacturing jobs left in West Virginia. So try to put that in context. You could put all the people in West Virginia that are in manufacturing in Mountaineer Stadium, and it wouldn't be full. We've got the ability, we've got the resources, we've got the infrastructure to bring back not only West Virginia, up and down this valley, but throughout this country, our manufacturing base. But we keep driving them offshore, we keep driving them to Mexico, we're driving them to Canada. There was a large, very large firm we had in Wheeling that went to Texas for a while, got the same EPA problem, regulations. They just went to Mexico, and they're booming in Mexico. As a result, we lost all those jobs. Could we not have had the technology to have corrected it? Yes. You had, and I'll get back to you. You had a question. You were next. I'm sorry.
I just want to know if you get elected, are you going to remember us? The people, you know, I have had bad experiences of calling our representatives in Washington. I call them and I tell them I do not want them to vote for this, that, and the other. I know other people want them to vote for it. But if I do not want them to vote for this, that, and the other, and I get back a letter thanking me for supporting them. I mean, that's really ridiculous. I mean, not even listen to what was said. I mean, I know you wouldn't agree with me on everything. I don't expect you to. But if you don't write me back and tell me that you're glad I support you.
I hear you on that.
But I just want to know that you don't
Yes.
forget the people in Wood County and Pleasant County and then down
I'm
in
not
this area.
leaving West Virginia.
Huh?
I'm not leaving West Virginia. That's the thing. I don't know where does Alan Mollahan still have a home in West Virginia? I don't know. Maybe he does. I don't know. But I don't hear him being back in West Virginia. I don't see him when I go to a restaurant in Wheeling or we go to Clarksburg. People say that he's not around. I'm 7th generation in West Virginia. I'm in a little river city just north of here, okay? I like being back in West Virginia. I want to be accessible. I operate the last 30 years in our company. I have an open door policy. Any one of our people can sit down and come in and talk to me at any time that they feel.
You remember that?
I do, and that's why I've done it for 30 years with my company. People have access. They've got to be able to talk to you. Because I'm not going to say I have every answer. I want people to come in, one of my mechanical engineers or a drafter or an electrician or someone's going to come in and say, can we do it this way? And we listen. And then we try to implement it. And as a result, I think we've been successful. You're going to hear an awful lot of people making promises. And all I can tell you is look at the people that are supporting our campaign. Those are the people that I have trusted over the years. I've represented them in the legislature, on the unborn. I've been able to do those things from the Farm Bureau. If you look back at my votes with the Farm Bureau, they knew that I was a dependable vote, that I was going to vote to take care of it. I've got a track record. You see how I voted. I want to be accessible too, because I don't have what I want to learn from you. So the only way I can learn from you is to take your phone call. I want to be able to do that. Maybe I'm naive enough to think that we can take those. I don't know, but I'm sure going to try for a while to see if because I just want to do things differently. I want to change that culture in Washington. I think whatever's happened over there hasn't been responsive to the people. Okay? That's another question. Yes, sir.
We can have him sign it in blood.
Oh, yeah, back to back. He had a question. I'm sorry, I missed him.
Virginia, the state of Virginia, I think a couple months ago, or maybe 3 months ago, was rated #1 business friendly. West Virginia seems to be anywhere 48th, 49th, 50th on everything. What would be your plan, and what would you do, sir, to make this a business-friendly state?
Well, get a business-friendly legislature. And I don't mean it, because Congress can only do something. Congress can't regulate. I don't want Congress regulating how we do business in West Virginia. The 10th Amendment protects us, should protect us from that.
What would you do?
Okay, what I want to do is reduce corporate net. Okay, the national corporate net income tax is now the 2nd highest in the world. take it back to where it's comparable to the average of the industrialized nations. I want to deal with tort reform. Second, get tort reform so it sweeps across the country. That will have a tremendous benefit for us in West Virginia, because numbers of states all around us have some form of tort reform, and we don't have it. But if the federal government gives us tort reform, then we will have achieved some semblance of balance with that. I want to change the research and development tax credits that people have. When I met with the Manufacturers Association, they said, you don't understand how huge that could be in exploding people and manufacturing jobs in this country if you increase the incentive for people to experiment again, to get back to the research and the development of new products. They said, so those just quickly, those would be three. We could go on. I could go on with that, but there are ways to do it. But I want to personalize. I want to get back to where if we get a legislature, because I don't think it should be Congress telling the legislature what they have to do to increase. But if we set the tone to get government off our back, for example, another thing, I would like to see a way that the state EPA had greater authority. I don't know whether it can be done over the federal EPA, but I really believe that I would rather have our people in West Virginia looking after the West Virginia businesses than having someone come in from out of state to tell us how to do business in West Virginia.
You said Saturday night at Doddridge County you were endorsed by the West Virginians for Life.
Yes.
Okay. Abraham Lincoln said you learn through other people's experiences, and I think we learned some experiences from John Kerry flip-flopping. What was your position in 1990 when you and Senator Boley was at the National Convention about the right for life being in the platform, the state platform at that time?
And that's a fair question, because I was state chairman at the time, and what we were trying to do was find a way to not have a litmus test to be a Republican. I had the opportunity. You remember Lee Atwater?
Beg your pardon?
Do you remember Lee Atwater?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Lee Atwater, he was the chairman. For those of you, Lee Atwater was the chairman of Ronald Reagan's election. He was the coordinator that put that together. Lee Atwater, I had a chance when I was on the national committee to talk about the Big Ten. If we're going to build a party, a strong party, we have to be able to be tolerant of having more acceptance. For example, what we have to look at is people like Shelley Moore Capito. I think Shelley Moore Capito is a very good Republican, but she's pro-choice. Does that mean that we have to throw her out of the party because she disagrees with us on one item? I don't think so. I want to be told, I want us to stand on principles, but I want to say at the same time, if we agree on 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, whatever that is, let's build our party back up till we're not beating ourselves, challenging it, we're not pure, that we're 10 out of 10 things. I'd love to have that. But I'm a realist to understand just like we were talking about, we may disagree on one thing or another. But at the end, do we want to have a group that agrees on 9 out of 10? Does that not stand for our Republican values? And I don't want to see Shelley Moore Capito thrown out of the Republican Party, because I think Shelley Moore Capito has represented us well in Washington. That was my answer to that. That's what I was trying to talk about. Certainly not to do it, because I've been there. What you have to understand, I don't get too much into it. But I know a little boy named Max. Maxwell is now 5 years old. Maxwell is just now learning to walk. Maxwell's had open heart surgery. He couldn't breathe when he was born. He's deaf. He has huge genetic disorders. Our family, this is my grandson. Our family had to come to grips with this. Are we going to just be someone that talks about right to life? Or are we going to walk the walk and hold my daughter close? And we went ahead. We prayed with her, and she had that baby. Maxwell has been a blessing to us. Every day.